Well, good evening to you. How are you doing? I missed you last week, but let me say to you, even while I'm not there, this program must go on. And so I want to thank all of you who are here with us every Wednesday, tuned in to advancing the cause. I don't want to start the name calling because I'm always in trouble. So, Denny Samuels, good night to you. I notice we have Yvonne Rodriguez, Everett Leonard, um, Alex is here with us, Michelle, Paulette, all of you. Good night, good night, good night, good night. Power to the people, run the sobers. Good night to you. You know, we're always here because we want to bring you the facts. Miss Booker, good night to you too. We want to bring you the facts. We're not like some of the folks. Sharon, good night to you too. We're not like some of the folks. You notice we have the UN forum going on there, and we got people lying through their teeth. But we don't do that. We tell you the facts, and you can check it out anytime, and you'll recognize that we're telling you the truth. So I know that's why you come here. Sarah, good night to you too. That's why you come here. Ingrid, everybody, good night to you. That's why you come here to hear from us. And we know we got the peeps on. Patricia McFarlane, good night to you. Daphne, good night to you. Everybody, good night to you. Look, we got people watching us here from France. We got some folks watching us here from Switzerland, some folks from Turkey. We've got from the UK, the USA, Canada, and everywhere in the Caribbean, we've got folks watching us. I know we have Marcia Weeks in Barbados. Shout out to my Bajan crew. I love you so much. My other crew members don't get upset with me. My Trini friends and my friends from St. Vincent and Grenada and so on don't get upset with me. I love you too, just the same way. But tonight we're looking at what's happening in Guyana. Guyana in crisis. Guyana is in crisis. And so we've got every single sector, the education sector in crisis, the security sector in crisis, the Ammunition Affairs Ministry in crisis, our natural resources in crisis, the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports in crisis, Public Works in crisis, the Ministry of Health in crisis, social services, human services and social security, all of them in crisis, every single one of them. Housing in crisis, governance in more crisis, foreign affairs, crisis again. Ah, the office of the prime minister, well, don't talk about the office of the president, more crisis. And then when we talk about the man who really ain't got no portfolio, the vice president, he in more than crisis. And so everything here in Guyana is in crisis. And I don't know how they can get out of it, but we will have to get them out of it by voting them out of office. So it's good to have you here again. I want to say birthday shout outs to all of those persons who celebrated their birthdays between last Wednesday and today. Happy birthday to you. And I'm trusting that you are going to have a wonderful, or you would have had a wonderful day. And you're looking forward to closing that off with a wonderful night. Just be careful with what you do and be safe. I want to say to you that it's not only tonight, but you have an entire year to celebrate. So celebrate because God would have given you the opportunity to be alive, to being alive. But I'm not going to go too far into this, but just want to say to you that we just spoke about public works, and electricity falls right on the public works. In the land, the little Dubai of the Caribbean, with all the oil monies that we're having, with a $1.146 trillion budget, every day power outage in Guyana, all through the country, every night, somewhere in the Cooperative Republic is experiencing power outage. I don't know what they're doing with the monies. And I want to say thank God for David Granger. Under the 5 years during the coalition's government, we hadn't much blackout, let me say that. It was once and far, and it had to be something, you know? out of the ordinary that would have caused us to have those blackouts. Here we get in blackouts every day. Dewella Williams, good to see you here tonight. And so blackouts, 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 more blackouts, and plenty more blackouts. I don't know when it's going to stop. But here, make sure you have your little backup batteries. Make sure you have your little solar lights and so on. Vashti, good night to you, my dear, so that you can put them on. We were delayed somewhat because of the blackout and getting the generators started up. But you know what? We're here with you. And I know Jagdio doesn't like this. He doesn't like this. And if you watch the trend, every time we're supposed to have advancing the cause, we have in blackout. We have in blackout. But don't worry, that's not going to stop us. And so, to all those persons who've lost loved ones between last Wednesday and tonight, or today, I want to say, extend to you our sincerest condolences because I know losing a loved one, it's not easy. But you know what? God knows best. And we, while we would want to have our loved ones there with us, we don't want to have them there and they're going through so much pain and suffering and so on. It would break our hearts even more. So continue to hold on to the memories of your loved ones and allow that to guide you. Gavin Jacobs, good night to you, my dear. And Debbie Collins, good night to you. But you know what? We're going to talk a little more about Guyana is in crisis. But to assist me in doing that, I'm going to have my able body partner, Dr. Vincent Adams. He's going to be here joining us. He's already backstage. He's going to be here joining us. And I must, before we have Dr. Adams coming on to speak, I must extend gratitude to my dear buddy from the Essequibo Coast, Mr. Dennis Jaikaran. He is always a shoulder to lean on. And you know, I hear the president of Guyana, Irfan Ali, talk about one Guyana and one Guyana and one Guyana. If you recognize or you're seeing the whole exhibition, let me use that word for the want of another word, of one Guyana, you point it out and show me. But if you look at us, you will see we have inclusivity. We don't see race. We see one people, one nation, one destiny. And so when I'm not here on Wednesdays, my brother Dennis Jaikaran from the Essequibo Coast, he carries my program. And you know, I can call him at 15 minutes before the time, and he's ready to carry the program. You know why? Because the issues are real and the issues are here. So all I need to do is to say, this is what we're talking about, and he would have his issues, have the information there, ready to deliver to you. So, Brother Jaikaran, good night and a big up to you. Could we bring Dr. Adams in? Because we're going to talk about Guyana is in crisis. And if you notice there, Dr. Adams, good night to you. How you doing?
Yeah, good night, Coretto. Welcome back. Welcome back. Even though Dennis did a great job, but he
Yeah.
and he always will as a substitute. But welcome back. We miss you and
Thank
welcome
you so
to
much.
our great listeners and audience out there all over the world.
You know, Dr. Adams, while I was preparing to come into the studio, I was saying in my mind, I hope by the time I get there, we're not going to have power outage because I recognize it's a trend. Every Wednesday at a certain time, power outage. And you notice what our topic is saying, Guyana is in crisis. This is the oil-rich country. This is the 10th, I think, the 10th richest country in the world, and every 2 minutes is a power outage somewhere on the quarantine. Last night I was having classes last night, and the teacher said he cannot fully participate, and he's living in the Kanji area, and that's Region 6. He cannot fully participate because he's having power outage at his end. And then another teacher said the same thing. And then somebody from Region 9 was saying, I'm not getting you clearly and you're not getting me clearly because there's no the connection, there's no proper connection. And this is what we're experiencing in a country that just approved a $1.146 trillion budget. Your comments.
Oh well, it's not. It's but it clearly shows. Are you getting my echo there? I'm getting an echo.
No, no.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. but it clearly shows where the interest of this government lies. Like we always say, budgets are about priorities. How come the basic needs of life, food, electricity, water, those are the kinds of things that people are suffering from? Now, I'm sure that all of these, all of the president and vice president and the minister of education and all the cabinet ministers, I'm sure they've got generators, so it doesn't matter to them. It's the mass of the people that are suffering, and all of their buddies, all of these contractors who are getting the hog of the money from the infrastructure that is carrying close to 60% of the budget. I bet you that they all have generators, so this doesn't bother them. And correct, I don't know if you recall that this government promised since last year. You remember, this is not something that is only occurring now. This blackout suddenly started happening when this new government took over, when the PPPC took over. I was down in Guyana in the last administration, and even I was surprised that, because Guyana is always known for blackouts, and you correctly said that there were hardly any blackouts while I was there in Guyana for those 2 years with the administration, with the past administration. Did you recall that they promised that this area is going to be fixed since last December? Did you remember that?
As
So
a matter of fact, there were we quite a lot of monies were approved for them to
that's
buy,
right.
according to them, new generators. And you remember how they cussed Patterson out and said,
Yeah,
"Oh, Patterson bought a second-hand generator." But even with that second-hand generator, we weren't having power outages.
that is correct. I think the number of generators they're supposed to have bought, what is it, 8 or 9, and I with a huge cost that went towards it, and you guys they got the money. December has come and gone, over what is we're into the third month after December, and it's even getting worse. I mean, I try to talk to folks on a daily basis, and we're having the same problem throughout. They can't. It's blackout, and here we are. We've got a budget that has basically been tripled. We've got all you hear about is the largest GDPs, and we're the richest country. We're a little Dubai, and it doesn't translate into anything of substance to the majority of the people. Like I said before, Jagde is probably up, enjoying himself, sitting and looking at movies or something, whatever he's doing. Electricity, he's oblivious to what's going on with the real person. The president, all the ministers and everybody, they really don't care, and they're showing that they don't care, by the way, because this is not of any urgency to them. The mass of the people are without electricity, and it's happening over and over. And had it been, if they were suffering, correct, I'd be willing to guarantee you it would have been fixed. All of this stuff would have been fixed if they were suffering. It's the same thing, like, I know we're gonna get there sometime later, but same thing like the teachers. If they were feeling the consequences of the teachers staying out, they also, it would, the problem would have been fixed. But it's I mean, it's a common problem in every single sector, as you say, because it doesn't impact them and their friends. It doesn't matter to them, but the masses continue to suffer. When you hear the vice president almost on a weekly basis saying that that the only thing that the opposition wants to do is feed the people. He says that all the time. Well, the most important to them is feeding the people. What could be more basic to human beings than feeding the people? What could be more basic than feeding the people? But that's where their mentality lies. It Feeding the people doesn't matter to them, because they're belly full. They're having a belly full every day, while the masses are hungry. That's what we're dealing with here.
And Dr. Adams, I'm happy that you're bringing that out, because this is the actual truth, where the elite group, their bellies are full, but the masses, they're hungry. If you walk the streets of Georgetown, and even on the Essequibo coast, and if you go to Region 5 and Region 6, you're going to see so many beggars on the streets. And with all these monies that we're having, I don't know what is happening at the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Why is it that they can't cater for these people? I don't know. You find beggars at the traffic lights. Every traffic light you go, you turn up at, there's a beggar or two there. You walk down the streets of the Regent Street, Rock Street, Charlotte Street, you got beggars along those streets. You travel to the quarantine, you got beggars along the roadways and the market, you stop there, they got beggars there. And so this is saying to us that something is wrong somewhere. Why is it that we're having so many persons who are begging on the streets? And don't tell me that is because they want to do it. If we put systems in place for them, then we wouldn't have too many of them. It's too much. And every day there's a new beggar. Every day I can tell you that. If you walk Regent Street, you go North Road, you'll see them. And every day you see a different one. Every single day. Young, old, in between.
And Corretto, it's sad to say that I guess we're lucky that they're going into begging because that is the last stage of desperation. The next stage is to commit crimes, and we see what is happening. I'm not making excuse for people going out and robbing to make a living. I'm not excusing that, but you have to look at the cause, the root cause of what could be causing it. What be causing these social problems. If they get to the stage where they're begging, they're going to get desperate that they got to provide for themselves. They're going to make a choice: is either I starve to death or my kids starve to death, or I go out there and commit a crime. And that is why the crime rates is escalating every single day. Look, I read up to today, 14-year-old child was robbed by two guys. But that's, we willing to bet you, if everybody gets a share that they deserve of this massive oil revenue, crime and everything would subside significantly. I'll be willing to guarantee you that. But like I said before, they really don't care. They themselves, they are fully secure. They walk around with security guards. Their home, they've got security guards. They're always secure. Their offices, they really do not care. And that is what's causing, if it was affecting them. Like somebody asked them, you remember somebody asked the vice president, could you live on $85,000 a month?
Yes.
And until now, he can't answer, until now, he hasn't given an answer. But that tells the story. That one question tells the story. Would you like to live in my shoes, where I don't have any electricity to run without any generator, right? I don't have any security at my house. I don't have any good water. I ain't got big tanks and all that kind of stuff to get water. If you ask them that question, my kids, I don't have money to spend to go to private school. Do you want to live in my shoes? And that is what's going on here. So when we see these crime rates and people begging, there is a root cause for it, and the government really don't care. That's what's going on. When you have almost half of the population, correct, half of the population living on $5 per day, which is about 1,000 Guyana dollars per day, who can do that? It's impossible. And that's the root cause of all of these. But nevertheless, you're giving 58 out of every $100 to your friends, families, and favorites. That less than 1% of the population who are filling their pocket with $666 billion out of the 1.146 trillion dollars. They're the ones who are all the big contractors and everybody. They're the ones who are getting the money, not the people that we're talking about here.
Dr. Adams, we're talking about Guyana's in crisis, and we want to turn our attention to the education sector.
Yep.
Under the education sector, we've seen under this minister, who I categorize as the worst education minister in the history of this country, school fires. School fires. When the school fires weren't enough, we went to the dorms and we had dorms fire. up to a day like today, we cannot have a report, a full disclosure of what really transpired at the Madia Derms. But you know what? A little 15-year-old is being held, and because it is alleged that she started the fire. But you know what? That fire there took the lives of 19 innocent indigenous children. And as if that wasn't all, the next day after the fire, maybe 2 days after, or the next day after that fire, you know what we saw? The Minister of Education, the Prime Minister, and a whole host of them walking up and down on that scene. Now you're saying that this is a crime scene, but here it is, you have people walking up, down, and all around. And you know what? Persons who were there, they saw body parts. Body parts were seen there. You know, they air dashed those students out, those who were alive and those who were dead. They air dashed them out. But body parts of those who were burnt beyond recognition were still there. And they were walking up and down and around on that scene. I mean, I'm not a police officer. I'm not trained in that area. But common sense will tell you that
Yep.
you shouldn't be there. Your
Absolutely.
take on that?
Well, you know, look, I mean, everything in Guyana, the government has two phases. One, being negligent upfront, and on the backside, cover it up. That's what's going on. They commit the crime and then they cover it up. Because everything that I've heard about that fire, read and heard about that fire, it was negligence. There was, and that was not the only school where they just ignored um, issues that were brought to their attention, defects that compromises the safety of those kids. They fail to look at them. So guess what? You have a fire, and then after the fire, now they appoint their own people on the commission, and then like you said, being so irresponsible in walking all over the crime scene. I don't know if it's deliberate or they're just stupid and ignorant, that they do not understand that doing such a thing would compromise the scene, or they just want it to be compromised, so that the evidence would be there to indict any of them. But that's the situation we have in Guyana. And you know what? Correct. Let's get down to these folks. They really don't care. And we, of course, people like yourself and others, who keep the pressure on. They don't like it, but at least we are occupying their time and putting them on the spot. But when you get down to it, they really don't care. The only thing that they care about is protecting their positions, and hopefully we can turn the necessary numbers around who would understand and see that what is being communicated to them is a serious problem, not only for the country but for them personally, and to hold these people accountable. That's the only thing that is going to change this country, is to hold the current administration accountable, meaning that when people go to the polls the next time, they understand, and that we seriously have a problem, and we're going down the wrong road here, to the continuous suffering of themselves and their family. But so this here is the kind of thing that is happening: just negligence, incompetence, and cover up. That's what they're engaged in.
Oh, Dr. Adams, if that was not enough, the Attorney General was out there saying, when the relatives started clamoring for more information, what is happening? Tell us something. We're not hearing anything. He had the audacity to say to those folks that the government took care of all the expenses, and the government did not have to do that. No, no.
Wow.
The thing is, in whose care were our children?
It's the callousness, is the callousness. I'm telling you, as long as it doesn't affect them, they really do not care. And it goes back again to this whole thing about feeding people. I mean, just those statements that that vice president keeps making, it tells you when he says that the only thing that this administration, that the opposition wants to do is feed the people, it tells the story of exactly their callous behavior, and they don't care a damn about anybody else. And it, so that's what it translates in those simple words. That's what it translates into. They were, for him to go to, for the attorney general to go and say that, well, we really didn't have to do this. And of course, you know more better than I do that they paid off the family. They thought, now you tell me a few $1,000s, could that be
Million
worth
dollars.
how much?
5 million, five
Could you
million
pay that?
dollars for
You
life.
you
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for a life. But again, they take advantage of the fact that people are so desperate that that's a lot of money. It may not last forever, but somebody who's desperate to feed their kids, they're gonna take a chance with the money. But that's that kind of a pass and callousness that these people are meeting out towards their own people, that they're supposed to be doing the opposite. They're supposed to be protecting and providing for the nation, especially now when we are supposed to be the richest country on the planet, having all you hear about is we having the highest GDP by far, which is a fact. But it's not translating, or that money is not trickling down to the real people. We know where it's going.
Doc, while you're talking about the how they don't feel it, and this is what is happening all around. Good evening to you, Miss Cheryl Sampson, and we have Chanel Daniels there, our regular suspects. Thank you for being here with us. You know, this is why they can't relate to what is happening in the streets because they don't know how to be there.
Yep.
They've never been there. As a matter of fact, even if they were ordinary people, they had the kind of resources at their hand reach when they were younger to ensure that they didn't have to go to the marketplace. They didn't have to stand on the road and wait for a minibus. They didn't
Yep.
have to, walk through a street to get home because they had the resources. So they can't put themselves in the positions of the ordinary man. While we're talking about what is happening with regards to the school fires and the dorms fire and so on, we have here still ongoing the issue of the nation's teachers. And this shameless government who has selected a chief education officer, because of course we all know he did not go through the regulations of the public service. He was selected, so he's a political selectee. He is there, and this fellow, I'm hoping that this period of Ramadan is going to change him because he is there and the man is lying through his teeth. Come
Yep.
to a meeting one day and you say to the meeting, I am the chief negotiator. I speak on behalf of the Ministry of Education. I don't know if the operator has a picture there for us to see this guy that I'm talking about, Saddam Hussein, comes there. I am the chief negotiator. I speak on behalf of the Ministry of Education and on behalf of the government. And then agrees with us that we are going to look at the 2019-2023 document. And 4 days later, the man turns up there with somebody else sitting in the seat, the PS. And then the man is going to say to us, I thought, in my opinion, I thought I was the chief negotiator, but I've come to recognize that I was not. And so the whole table turned upside down. Where now the PS is saying, and he's shaking his head and agreeing with her, we're not prepared to look at the 2019-2023 document. But that was a document that was tendered in court, that you signed an agreement to. You signed the minutes of the Thursday meeting. only to turn up on Tuesday again to say, no, that is not what you mean. And then on top of that, his minister, who was hiding all the time, she surfaced all of a sudden to say, oh, it was a discussion that they were having, but it doesn't mean that the government had given the green light, that they were going to look at this document in its entirety and to pay what the GTU is asking. I mean, something is wrong with their level of understanding, because a proposal is a document you submit. And we expect that after we would have submitted a proposal that you will come to us with your counter proposal. They did not have that. And so they're clamoring on the fact, and I think the vice president, I've been saying this for a while. I think that when he jumped into that 6-0 number, something went upside down with him. And so he's not thinking straight anymore. There was a time when he wasn't thinking straight, but now he's not thinking straight at all. And so he too is saying that the GTU is very unconscionable, and the GTU is this and the GTU is that, to want to ask for 25% and 20%. Dr. Adams, you would be better able to explain to our viewers why, even if you pay them 50%, it will not cause this government any harm in terms of their financial standing. Mind you, the PS is saying this budget doesn't have any fiscal space to accommodate GTU's asking. You tell us.
Well, even before I get to the numbers, just to follow up on what you've said there, the one good, you remember I talked about accountability, and these folks are doing these things um, recklessly because there's no accountability. But guess what? The one good news here is that we have a judge who is holding them accountable. I read that the judge says, show me the documents, which means my interpretation of that, don't come to me. I want to see, and that's going to reveal how lying they are in terms of the minutes of the meetings and everything else. So that's the one good positive in all of this, that hopefully is going to stay with this judge. And to me, he will hold them accountable based upon his record. Now, in terms of the numbers, and let me remind our listeners, Coretto, that it was the president, um, Mr. Ali, and Dr. Ali, and the vice president, Jagdeo, who were shouting from the rooftop in Parliament. When they were in opposition, teachers deserve, give them 50% raise. You remember that? So let's take their word for that, even though they want to now backtrack on that and give. And then in those days, you didn't have money. So they want to give you 50% raise when there's no oil, but now they want to give you 6.5% raise when there is oil. So let me put that into perspective. Again, when you put together a budget, is a matter of priorities, is what your heart and soul wants. Education, without question. I know how many kids we've got to make sure that they grow up to be good young men and women, because teachers spend most of the time in a kid's life in terms of what a kid becomes. It's because of those teachers. Generally, the parents have a lot to do with it too, but a lot of times what kids are taught and groomed to be is because of those teachers. So that's the value of building a country, besides just the math and English and that type of stuff that turns them into engineers and nurses and teachers, etc. So here's the reality. This budget is turned upside down on its head. The infrastructure, which goes to the less than 1% of the population, or with those contractors, all the friends and family. Remember, Nigel Hughes did a study and showed that what is over 90% of those contracts, the money goes to their people, the rich and famous. Now, so 58% or $666 billion goes to these people. Do you know how much go to the teacher? About 29 billion, or 11%. So here you have infrastructure that is carrying over 5 times the budget of the teachers. Now, in terms of the 50% that they're climbing for, and even the 50%, you're still going to be way below the Caribbean numbers. All of the countries in the Caribbean with or without oil. Let me read some numbers here for you. The Trinidad and Tobago, the teacher's average. Now, a teacher in Guyana averages 850 US dollars a month. The Trinidad and Tobago, they average 1,500 US dollars per month, almost twice. Grenada, that has no oil whatsoever, averages 1,900 US dollars per month. 1,900 compared to 850 from our side, almost 2.5 times. Little Dominico, Dominico, 1,670 US dollars. Dominico, no oil whatsoever, little bitty country. All those little islands, you remember when they used to run to Guyana? They're now starting back to come to Guyana. Their teachers, when you look at Antigua, has no oil, over $1,100 a month, and then St. Martin, of course, $2,700 per month. So that's where we stand. So all it takes, even for just this 50%, which is a measly raise, because even with the 50% raise, that's going to take you to, let's say, $1,300 a month. You're still the lowest paid in the Caribbean. You're still the lowest paid in the Caribbean even if you get 50%. But a lot of people, when I hear the vice president say, well, we can't afford it, I've never heard such. Again, we get back to this callousness of his rhetoric. So here's how you can easily get that money. You cannot afford it. All you've got to do, Coretta, is to get 50% pay raise. Take 2%. 2% again out of the infrastructure budget. So instead of 58%, now they're going to get 56%. And you can get a 50% raise by taking 50%, 2% of the infrastructure budget, and y'all would get, so that's how you fund it. They would still get 56%, which is still outrageous. And instead of $666 billion, they would now get $652 billion. What more could you? It's just greed. And then you're telling me that you cannot fund. And here's the other thing that these, when I hear, and they can't even get their story straight. When I hear the president saying, you know what, y'all wait until 2027. But then the vice president is saying, with the other side of his mouth, the vice president is saying, well, how could, we can't afford to give you all this amount of money because I don't know what's going to happen with oil prices in the coming years. So here's the the president promising, y'all going to get your money later on. And the vice president said, well, I am not sure if we could able to afford getting you that money. And then the vice president again, on the other hand, saying, well, the reason why we're not ring fencing, meaning you instead of taking the money up front now, taking more money up front now, you're leaving it for later days. So you're basically gambling. He's gambling the money for later years, but at the same time he's saying, I don't know what the oil prices is going to be. So they're all over the place. They don't make any sense whatsoever, and they're trying to confuse. But the point is, the money could easily be obtained. All it takes, out of every $100, the infrastructure is now getting $58. Y'all are barely getting $11. The education budget. This is the whole education budget. Y'all are only getting $11. All you've got to do, take that, $2. So instead of you getting 58, now you're going to get 56, and the teachers would get their 50% raise. That is as simple as that, and that would solve your problem. And I cannot see why wouldn't that be reasonable? Why wouldn't, and everybody, go back to work happy? Their kids would be happy. Our education system would go back to work. As easy as that. It's as easy as that.
You know, Dr. Adams, the economist, oh gosh, the economist that we have here, who claims to be the brightest when it comes to finances. I mean, I don't understand how he couldn't work that one out. But like you were saying, it's one, greed, and two, they always want to have the citizens of Guyana running behind them all the time. If you check the history of the PPP over the last 23 years, you would see that without oil, it was a 5%, a 3%, a 5%, a 6%, a 3%. The same thing they're wanting to do now with oil. Same 6.5. And then when the poor little girl go and sing, how can I survive on 6.5? You banned her song. You disqualified her. I mean, they want to do things, but they don't want you to talk about it.
So
And
let
as
me
soon
let
as
me
you
let me
talk,
add this quickly, correct, before we don't keep your trend of thought. So here's one of the things that he's doing now. Here's his favorite tune, his song and dance though. Well, teachers, since you talk about the raises, well, teachers have gotten since 2020 with education, no, not the teachers, the education budget has increased by 162%. Well, you could see the scampishness in these guys. What he's not telling people, the infrastructure budget over that same period of time has increased by 500%. 500%. So he's saying, oh, you know what? That's just, you watch it. You want to bet at this press conference tomorrow. He brings that up. He's gonna say, "Oh, teachers, the increase in the budget for education was 162% since 2020." But he doesn't say that the infrastructure has increased 500%. So three or four times the teachers' budget. So that is how these people are so deceitful and devious. But anyway, sorry, I had to get that in while you were talking about the pay raises.
and that's fine. And so we want our viewers to understand that while the vice president and sometimes, well, I know the teachers have said it best. They said when Ali wasn't president, he knew what they should get. Now that he's acting president, it seems as if he forgot or forget. And so you're seeing the distinct line there where the vice president is doing all the talking. I remember during President Granger's term in office, they complained all the time, oh, President Granger don't have any press conferences. He doesn't talk to the media. But now you got the vice president doing all the talking. I wonder what happened. Maybe he's saying to Efron, shut your mouth. You don't know anything. I'm the economist. You sit down. Shut up.
Well, he
One would
put
expect.
remember he's the one who put he's the boss. He's the one who put Ali in there, and Ali I mean, you see the pictures all the time, even when they get visitors, and Jaglio sits to the head of the table. The orphan is, I mean, it looks so disgraceful and embarrassing, to especially to the foreign people that come there. He's taking notes. This is the president is taking notes while Jaglio is carrying on the conversation with the visiting leaders. I mean, that's the kind of embarrassment that we have. How could people respect a leader behaving in that manner? That's what we have. Whether Ali has a different view to Barrett or not, we will never know. We will never know, because it's all Barrett's view, not only as far as Ali is concerned, but the entire government, all the ministers and the cabinet and everybody are so scared of this man. We have a cult. And by the way, I'm using this word, and it was described to me in that way by a very, very, very senior person. And I say very because, and I mean the top, a very senior person in the PPP. He calls it a cult.
See, the thing is, they've allowed Jaglio to be the cult leader. Huh? And so quite a lot of them, they are afraid to speak, even when he's doing a lot of wrong things. Because if you walk the streets of Georgetown, you would, and you walk all across this country, even their supporters are upset.
Yeah.
Even their supporters are upset, and they're saying, especially some of the older ones, that he has diverted from Jagan's ideology of the party. And this man is something else, and they're so upset with what they're doing. But of course, some of them are not bold enough to come out and speak. But you
Yeah.
know what? I'm seeing one of our call viewer there saying, if President Granger had put him in prison, then he would not have been here to make all them foolish talks that he's talking about there. And,
Yep.
and which is true, with all the madness that he's saying, I'm hoping that persons took careful note of what Jagdeo said when he was at Babujan there last week.
Yep.
I'm hoping that people are taking note of it, because you know what? He wants to make this country a Barra Jagdeo's country, where you must not say anything. And so he's talking about his challenges, which includes me. But I
Yeah.
want Barajagyo to know that I will speak all the time and every time because I'm here to represent the people. I don't have to pay you any homage because
It's
you're
a
not
threat.
worth it.
It's
You're
threat.
not worth
It's a
it.
threat. It's a threat to intimidate, and yes, it's a threat to intimidate. Nothing else.
Yes. And so I want him to understand that he has nothing on me. I want to remind him of that very often. You have nothing on me. And that is why, when you hear these little proverbs or sayings, when the fox can't get to the grapes, they say it's sour. So everything, Coretta McDonald, Coretta McDonald, Coretta McDonald is so popular now that everywhere I go, people who didn't know me, they know me. And I'm happy because I'm protected when the people know. When they see me, they say, we look at you every time, we hear your name. I'm protected. So if y'all think y'all gonna try something with me, there got people out there who watching my back. But coming to the meat of the matter, every sector in this country is in crisis. If we look at the operator will show you what has happened with the Ministry of Home Affairs. We got there. A sergeant of police was shot dead by a corporal. And they say he get caught in a sorry, friendly fire. They hunted a prisoner who escaped. They're saying that this prisoner is a deadly man. He's armed and dangerous and so on. And look, the poor sergeant was killed. Poor sergeant was killed. He has a wife and he has children. He was killed in friendly fire. And it's not one bullet, 3 bullets. The postmortem said 3 bullets. So I don't know how a friendly fire, it means that this man shooting all the time. And I don't know how if there is no strategy in place, so that you would know, look, I am here, you will go there, you will go there, and we got on some clothes that we could recognize each other. I mean, every time the PPP is in office, these are the kinds of foolishness we have. So security sector on the is in crisis. And then not long after that, we had another sergeant of police that's five special branch open fire on 80 something spent shells. I mean, Dr. Adams, you tell me.
you know why I laugh, that in addition to being a serious matter, there's a funny side to that story in terms of the incompetence and ineptitude. I guess it flows right down. These guys shot 88 bullets, and not a single one hit the car or the guy. All of the bullets missed the car. All 88 bullets that they shot missed the car. But how could you? And what I heard also, that the car that they were supposedly sent to go after was already compounded. It was in the police compound. It already had the same car that they were describing. It was already compounded. So there's lots of questions. But even worse than that, Coretta, was that apparently, when was it that the case, or was it the sergeant, they went back when they went back to headquarters, one of the big officers, there was a dispute as to where they should be held, and one of them say he only takes instructions from the president and from the commissioner of police. So even within the force itself, we have some major issues of things that are not normal, that are not
Crisis,
normal, that you would
crisis,
expect a
crisis
normal country
everywhere.
would be adhering to. So even in our security, we are having these type. And if you cannot even trust your security, imagine even a cop in life is being threatened by his colleagues. So what about me and you? What would happen to us? And that's the situation that we have here. And then the guy, then the man saying that instead of holding them accountable, the man said that that they that he only take instruction from the president and the chief and the guy who's in charge of this police.
But the
That's the
thing,
lawlessness. That's the lawlessness that the people are suffering under in Guyana.
But the thing is, Dr. Adams, you and I know that every organization, it has an organizational chart.
That's right.
And so this rank, I'm almost certain he falls under the commander of a division.
Yep.
So you must report there first, unless this
Yep.
this sergeant is, well, not sergeant, this police officer, whoever the officer is, who said he only taken instructions from this sergeant, probably got a special relationship with the commissioner of police and the president.
That's right.
Maybe and it now leads one to talk about all kinds of things. But a little more than that, it is alleged that when the sergeant, well, I tell you, I got to tap that sergeant on his shoulders whenever I see him. But after the guy got away from them, he was able to drive away from them, and he went
Right.
to the Providence police station. I am hearing that the officer in charge there had to take out the AK-47 and according to them
Yes.
boys, lick
Yep.
some shots to back them off because they were still shooting. I
Yep.
mean, if a man drives to the police station, why you want to kill this person? And you know, this is a trend with the PPP. They don't shoot to injure so that they can get information. They always shooting to kill. Fine man, they shoot and kill fine man. What the boy name? Blackie, they shoot and kill Blackie. They shoot and kill the boy Owen Boston. They shoot Quindon Bacchus and kill Quindon Bacchus. This other prisoner that just got away, they shoot and kill he. They shoot and kill Smalley. Was it you don't want to get information? You don't want to know if there's a gang somewhere and they got other people? Why you always shooting to kill these people? Why is it that you always shooting to kill? I mean, that's all you're trained to do, to shoot to kill?
Yep.
we
Yep.
we got to hold these people. Now the other thing is, I'm learning that one of the five there from special branch was one that was implicated in the shooting of
Yep.
Quindon Bacchus.
Marcus. Yes. Yes.
I mean, and these people just walk in the road free, free, free. And if you and I park our vehicle somewhere, the police coming to lock off your wheel.
Yep.
They're ready to charge you. If they see you stop, and these guys are just allowed to walk the streets freely, going around the place shooting at people all over the time. The other thing is that I find very puzzling is the fact that I know police officers who got vehicles. Their counterparts wherever they know that, hey, you don't touch this bus. There's a policeman bus. You see the car there? It's a policeman car. You see the.
Yep.
So how come they know that this is a sergeant's car? And I'm sure all of those five special branch ranks, their rank is lower than that of the sergeant. I'm almost certain about that.
Yeah.
Now the man run out there with his uniform on, and you're still shooting at this man. What really going on in this place?
Yep. And like I said before, the car that they were after was already impounded at the police station. So there's so many questions. But if you look at if you connect the dots in terms of the lawlessness and the corruption and everything else that is going on in Guyana, you know, in the last few days, of course you heard about this guy, the Interpol guy, the big mafia boss who have now been held and held up, arrested by Interpol police, um, or the Ghana police was told to arrest him. The guys, I don't know if you've been seeing the picture. Here we've had a criminal of this magnitude in that country for what they say, like 2 years or whatever the time is, living right under the nose of the U.S. embassy to start with. But on top of that, the man's wife and the president's wife, there's a picture circling where they're having coffee together, and apparently based on the social media, the two families are very close. So that's the kind, that paints the picture and image of what we're dealing with in Guyana. That's that, yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, yeah, exactly. You were prepared for this, it seems like. you know. So that is what, so everything it shows this, and everything that ties back to the lawlessness and corruption that is driving this lawlessness in Guyana. I mean, this here, you cannot want a more telling picture than this in the context of this lady's husband, who is wanted, who's wanted by Interpol, and he has been arrested. This here tells the story.
Dr. Adams, I am hoping that our viewers, they are watching and they're taking note of what is happening, that this is a lawless government we have. Before 2020, while they were in office for 23 years, we had the death squad, the black clothes, the phantom squad, all of them killing people. We had the drugs galore. Everywhere they're finding drugs somewhere. You had the execution style murders. Now they are here again, and we're having the same things. Now, one of the things that struck me coming out of this whole issue here with the where we have the president's wife having tea. I mean, it's just for you to go, you just meet people and you sit down and gaff with them. Operator, could you put that picture back up there? We gotta show this picture. It's just for you to meet these people. I mean, you had to know these people, and for the president's wife to be sitting there having tea, it means that you're close. And are we to understand that the president's wife doesn't do any background check? I mean, if Dr. Adams, I can find out, well, is who's the wife, is who's the girlfriend,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
where she used to live before. How, and let me say this one to our viewers. I hope you know where the man was staying.
Yeah.
I hope we know where the man was staying. And I'm hearing something that the man used to stay by some Duke Lodge. And it's who owned Duke Lodge? Some national advisor on security. You see how the security system breach? Huh? Or maybe the security advisor is sheltering this man all the time. What are we to understand by this? I mean, these things are happening too often. I remember when we had the boys who got away from prison in 2000 or 2002. They were living at a house right next door to the Minister of Home Affairs, Gajraj. Right there, they've been living a couple houses from him. So, is this a trend in the PPP? It can't be accident. So here is it, First Lady having tea with the wife of a man who's wanted by Interpol. She's comfortable. I'm hoping that the US government will start questioning the First Lady and asking her where she know this woman from, and whether you know that this woman was involved in wherever and wherever. I just saw a picture today with the Prime Minister of somewhere resigned because there are allegations of corruption against him. I think we have that picture somewhere. Operator, I can't remember. Is it China? Not China. Um, I can't remember where it was. But we have a prime minister who resigned because there are allegations of corruption that were leveled against him. And I'm wondering if um, President Ali's wife or President Ali is going to step down, because this is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Look, Vietnamese president stepped down because there were allegations of corruption leveled against him. And I'm wondering what happening in Guyana. In Guyana, we had a minister whose niece was caught with cocaine at the airport. In Guyana, we got all kinds of things happening with these senior officials, and nobody's saying anything. Coming from Natural Resources Ministry, we had the guy there. Well, I don't know who he related to, but we had the guy there. What's his name again? I can't remember his name. The same guy who signed off on the 211 million US for Exxon, the audit. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all he got was 15 days no pay leave and whatever. And yes, like Miss Leighton Charles is saying, that honestly, the president's wife brought his office into disrepute.
Yep.
She
And this
brought the
is not,
office into disrepute.
and you know, you and I know, just using your common sense, this is not just a one-time tea or a casual meeting
No.
conversation with her. This here, you can see the camaraderie exhibited between them. This here is something much deeper than that. And you know, one spouse with those two ladies getting together, you know that your spouses are also, you know, they're so I mean, I this year I hope that this picture never goes away, and it ought to be the poster child. It ought to be up there. You put it up on them lantern posts and everything, so that people could and you know, I hear the president coming out and explaining anything. You know, he needs to explain that picture and explain the relationship, because this is no ordinary. This is no ordinary gangster. It's not somebody that lives in Tiger Bay or Balbaiston or Linden or somebody that they escaped from a Ghana prison. This guy is an international mafia boss that was residing in Guyana, and now was he being protected in Guyana? How could he have been protected until Interpol found him? I hear some people asking some questions, some pretty credible questions. Does he have a Guyana passport, for example? And how did he
That
get
might
it?
be possible.
Absolutely. So those are the kinds of things that people are asking, which makes sense. But there are lots more behind this, and this picture here ought to be the poster child from now on until we can get answers to these questions.
Here now, we are going to show you the response from the Minister of Home Affairs. Well, I know he you know, he not too, he in the here. I think he, as a Juggernaut, is fed up with what is happening, and he probably just going through the motion. He's just
Yeah.
going through the motion. But before we get him, I want to say that right now at the Lusignan prison, chicken pox is sharing Wild West,
Wow.
and they are doing absolutely nothing or little to safeguard the inmates there. They rub something on their skin and allow them there. These people must be isolated, and I'm hoping that they're going to do that, because you cannot allow an entire prison to be affected by chicken pox. So if you got well, I learned that it moved from 5 to 25. And once it can go to 25, then it can go to 50, it can go to 75.
Yeah.
Now, and then you're going to hear, just now you're going to hear, oh, prisons break out. Well, one of our viewers is saying that we need to check the voters list to see if this man and his wife's name is on the voters list.
I
You
saw
might
that.
be right. You might be right. We're gonna have to check it for truth. But
I think that's a serious question.
Yes, that's serious.
You're right.
That is serious.
Is brilliant.
That is serious. Outside of that, I want to know whether the advisor on security is still holding that position, because here it is. You got a mafia boss at your enterprise living. I mean, he was an army officer. You don't do no background check. It's just the people is just come and turn up and stay at your place. And you're not asking, well, how long they're here, this, that. But let's hear from Buck Up Ben, as the people say, Ben up, Buck Up Ben. Let's hear Ben.
Next question.
But what is the standard?
Next question. Madam, I have not read the reports, and I'm saying
satisfied with the
I am satisfied so far as to what was presented in the press, that 88 rounds were fired at a car, and nobody was injured, nor the car was struck.
Does it bring into question the SOPs of the Ghana prison?
I'm waiting for the review by the OPR and the Commission Police on that aspect of it.
Yes.
I'm not commenting further on the matter.
But are the officers on the process?
It is getting the attention of the OPR.
But can you confirm if the officers
I am
are
not
on the process?
confirming anything. I'm telling you, it's under the OPR.
How are you
The
dealing with the
Commissioner of
rift?
Police, sir. Who else has a question?
Minister,
Who else has a question?
she has a question.
Well, say it.
Are you satisfied?
Well said.
So, you know,
Well
this is
said.
the attitude of these people. I mean, 88 bullets being fired. Now, it's our money's got to be used to replace those.
Yep.
And, you know, when the reporters are asking the question, are these people, are these officers under close arrest? You can't say it's engaging the attention of the police complaints authority or wherever you. I mean, this guy should have been asked to go home. Too many things happening under his watch as minister of as minister of home affairs. Too many things.
Yep.
Too many things are happening under his watch. He and Priya should have been gone home a long time.
Yep.
Both of them. But outside of that, we got another big issue. We got the issue of the UN Forum.
Yep.
We got that issue there. And I mean, I'm hoping that some form of sanction would be placed on Guyana and on Gail Teixeira for standing there and lying to the world.
Yep.
I mean, this woman ain't got, you know, I figure, you know what happened? When these people joined the PPP, they were indoctrinated. Well, they're indoctrinated after Jagvio came on board. He gave them some form of indoctrination they had to go through. Because these people just stand up and look at you with a plain face.
Yep.
And
I don't think
look, lying has become so much a part of them that it doesn't mean anything else to them. They don't feel nervous when they stand up and lie. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I
Let's
agree.
see what happens at Operate. Let's see what happens there at the UN Forum. I mean,
Was
Gail
again
Teixeira's-
grilled on Tuesday by Lawrence Helfer, a representative of the United Nations UN Human Rights Committee. However, while the chief whip addressed most of the questions, she omitted one regarding the detention of May Toussaint Jr. Thomas, the former permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and whether the matter is being investigated. On Tuesday, during the 140th session, U.S. candidate to the Human Rights Committee for the years 2023 to 2026, Professor Lawrence Helfer asked Teixeira if state parties are proactive when it comes to investigating corruption.
How is the state party responding to allegations of corruption that have become publicly known, such as the detention of Ms. May Toussaint Jr. Thomas, a senior public official, at the Miami airport in the U.S. on April 8th of 2023? Are the authorities of the state party investigating this incident? And if not, why not?
Teixeira did, however, state that she was unsure if she would be able to respond to every question because of how many there were.
Questions were asked. I'm not sure I can answer them adequately in the period that we're given because there are about 30 or more questions we've been asked.
On April 8, 2023, the former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, May Toussaint Thomas, was detained for questioning and had her cell phone confiscated by the United States Customs and Border Protection CBP officers at the Miami International Airport for 3 hours. Her U.S. visa was subsequently revoked. It was on April 8 when Thomas was en route to China on official government business via the U.S. when she was interrogated. In August of 2023, Toussaint was moved from the Ministry of Home Affairs to the Ministry of Labor. Tiana Co reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Well, here we go again.
Here we go
Now,
again.
this is May Thomas. P.S. And this is Gail saying, you know, Gail remembers everything that Burnham did. Burnham didn't do what he was supposed to do, how he was supposed to do it. She remembers everything that David Granger did. She remembers that the coalition are sanctimonious gangsters. But here it is, this gangster remembering she can't answer the questions that are being asked of her. Now, when we come down to, when we go past May, because May is a little big fish. But when we jump to the big fish, Jagvio, rather than Irfan Ali coming out to defend his wife, he defending Jagvio. You see how these fellas ain't got no shame?
Yeah,
And I
they
mean-
have no shame whatsoever. None.
Well,
None.
I ain't so sure whether he's a Muslim, but because I was going to say during this holy month, you're not supposed to lie. But here it is. This man ain't got no shame. None whatsoever. But I want to tell them tonight, Dr. Adams, that Ali has been categorized, he has been named, he has been identified as the traveling president. He's always out of Guyana more than in. Ali, stop some of the traveling and put the money towards paying the teachers. Stop some of the traveling, because your vice president, who was the opposition leader then, he said to President Granger, cut on your traveling, cut on rental of buildings. Well, don't talk about rental of buildings. If you see buildings with them renting and you check the persons who own the buildings, it's some family, and in some instances it's their building, a minister's building with a different somebody else who got their name up front. Check the cut on the rental of all these buildings that you are renting. You notice where CID is operating from. Well, Dr. Adams, you weren't here for a while, but the CID is there now operating from a building on Vincent Road. A building on Vincent Road there. They're operating from a building right there. As soon as you turn there to turn off there to turn Duncan Street, right there, there's a building there that they're operating from. Well, we got to find out is who owned that building and so many other buildings. So cut on the buildings, the rental of buildings. We got plenty place. Look, you got the place that was supposed to be the new radio station that y'all built on High Street there. Let it go. They should go fix it up, and put CID there. Cut on the rentals. Cut on y'all traveling. Cut on the amount of dietary, because ministry got plenty monies for dietary, and all the other ministries plenty monies for dietary. Cut on the eating. Cut on y'all spending. Cut on the eating, and pay the teachers the money. More than that, man, these people ain't got no shame. Cemetery Road can't finish up to now. According to the Bishop Fisher, supernatural powers, and he's a bishop, you know. He's talking about supernatural. These people ain't got no shame. And I'm hoping that our viewers, that the Guyanese people are watching these folks, and that you are remembering the hardships that they're putting us through. 23 years we had of it. Every day you're hearing how many more, Ja. That was the theme. That was our new national anthem. Because every morning you got up, somebody they find somewhere with bullet wounds. Somebody they find somewhere. Some car somewhere. I mean, what we really doing? You know, and it seems as if Jaguar want to bring us back to those days.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. You know, you talk about lies, and I think it's even worse than indoctrination. I think when you take an oath to be a member, you know, a high-level member in the PPP, they inject you with a serum, because this has to be something more chemically ingrained in their bodies, because they lie without even thinking, you know. And you talk about spending money. I look at Gil Teixeira. All you need, if you're gonna go there to lie, you don't need an entire entourage. I looked at you see how many people sit behind her? About 12 people. I don't know what the hell they were doing there, because if you're lying, you're not thinking. You don't have to analyze anything to lie, which is what she was doing, by the way, throughout this entire session. And it's just again, well, you know, in my particular case, the woman got there, well, she's obsessed with, well, she and Jagdi and all them, they're obsessed with certain people. And they asked the lady a simple question, and the woman jumped on me and say that I was the one who created the production sharing agreement in 2016, and I was the one who helped hide this bonus, this signature bonus. That was in 2016. I came to Guyana in 2018 of October, 2 years and 3 months after this production sharing agreement was signed. That's what a lady got up there and told his folks. And on top of that, I was working for the U.S. government at the time. So this lady is trying to implicate me now. And, you know, I had the highest national security clearance at the highest level of the U.S. government. So this lady now is wanting me to be branded or being suspected of being a traitor, of being treacherous to the United States government, because I'm not supposed to be engage with any kind of this type of thing in with a foreign government. So today now, because of all of the pushback, and I even wrote a letter to the UN saying that this is not true, and I had to, and then the front page, the newspaper headline, they confronted her and said, "Wait a minute, you didn't seem to what you said yesterday was factual. Could you explain?" The woman buckled down. The woman said, "Well, since he came here in 2019, now she switched from 2016 to 2019. Even that she got wrong because I came in 2018." But here's the stupidity. I've never heard something so stupid, but that's what happens when you're lying. She said, "Well, since he came here in 2019, he was implementing the PSA at the EPA and we cannot stop that now because it's the law." So she's saying that I was not supposed to follow the law to implement the environmental regulations as the EPA, but they cannot stop it now. But she's saying I should not be, but they're allowed to do it. I mean, how could you say that you cannot follow the law? And it's just like if she doesn't even know what the EPA does, because she said that I was the one implied that I was the one at the EPA who wrote the PSA and had control of the PSA. She used the word oversight. The EPA has nothing to do with the PSA. The PSA is managed and governed by, it used to be the Department of Energy, and now is the Ministry of Natural Resources. So this woman, she's shooting blanks from all over the place. And it's embarrassing, correct? It's embarrassing. And here's the other thing that people ought to take note of. They took a beating. Several of the members made some comments that they were just brushing aside stuff. They were just dismissive of the question. They weren't answering the question. They were vague. Well, that is not factual. And they made several of the members made those comments. And the lady said, because they were challenging the veracity of the information that the folks had. And the people said, "Listen, we did our research. So don't come there, don't go there and challenge what we are saying. We did our research, and everything we say is factual based on but that is the arrogance again. That is the arrogance that we're dealing with. But they're mistaken because they think that they're in Parliament and in Guyana, where they can say and do things, lie and get away with stuff. But these people are calling them to account. And so we're going to see what the report says. And would you believe, Corretto, would you believe with all the beating that they get and the stupidity and the embarrassment of this lady and the lies, they're putting out a press release and going to social media to say that this year was successful and this went great, except for one person who most likely is taking advice from the opposition. I mean, that's the statement that they're peddling as propaganda now coming out. This was successful. That's what these people are doing.
Look, I know that we got a lot more to talk about, but our time is running out. But let me close by saying, Ministry of Health in crisis. Citizens are going to the hospital and they have to spend 3 and 4 hours before they're being attended to. You know why? Because our nurses are leaving. And so the few nurses that they have there in the different departments, they can't attend to all of the patients who come there. So people are going there and they're spending 3 and 4 and 5 hours before they can get through with what they have to get through. So the health sector is in crisis too. And Frank Anthony is only making a fool of himself. So that is in crisis. We got the Ministry of Housing just the other day, a big scandal at the Ministry of Housing. So all of these sectors are in crisis. But then we got the office of the Prime Minister who covers communications, and he got Kwame there putting all kinds of craziness out. But we see them carrying this UN business out. They're not making that breaking news. You're not having breaking news. But Kwame and his fools that he got there, they could put out yesterday that Coretta McDonald parked her car and blocked the entrance of some ambulance something yesterday, when it was the very security officer who said to me, because I was going to pick up someone who was discharged from the Caribbean Heart Institute, he said, "Look, park here because the patient is discharged, so you'll just bring the patient down." But you know, Coretta will have to be on the radar every time. And I want them to know that the Guyanese people know different. And, you know, I call the security house slave and all kind of thing. I mean, I don't have to call him a house slave. If I want to tell him off, I can tell him off. And there are other things that I can tell him if I want to tell him off. But, you know, NCN just went out there and published that without even calling Coretta MacDonald to find out, well, Miss MacDonald, there is an allegation made against you. What do you? No, Coretta MacDonald heard verbal assault. Some worries, but let me tell them, Coretta MacDonald will always be your coffee, because I will speak against you every time and all the time until you get it right. And I know you can't get it right because you're bent on being corrupt and wicked and vindictive. And in some instances, you are, in most instances, you are sanctimonious gangsters. That's who you are. And I will continue to speak against you. I've never been a PPP and I will not be. I will continue to speak against you. In 2018, I took a position against the party that I represent, or the party that I'm a part of, on a matter of principle. And I will not allow the PPP to slide through. I will hit you up every time upside down, as long as you go against the principles. Every time you go against the principles, I will talk about you. And let me tell you, y'all can't drive fear into me. And I want to put a notice. Anytime you try anything, it ain't gonna end up nice. Because I am Coretta MacDonald. Let me say this. I'm not an Orange Boston. I am not a Quindon Bacchus. I am not a Courtney Cromie Wing. I'm not a Donna McKinnon. And I'm saying these names so that our viewers can understand the kind of injustices that the PPP do to people in this country. I am not a family of the Henry boys, because those two mothers died from grief. And you know what? Priya Manikchand and all of you, the tears of the Henry's families are on you. And y'all can't be comfortable. Y'all can't be happy. You're going to walk around the place with Gucci bags and wherever, and Range Rover, you, Anil, and all of y'all. But y'all will never be happy, because the tears of the Guyanese population are on all of you. The mothers and the sisters and the children, their tears are on you. Dr. Adams, your closing remarks.
No, we've got to, like I said, it couldn't be more aptly titled your program Guyanian Crisis, because in every sector, I remember a parliamentarian, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was Amanza Walton said in Parliament during the budget week, she said, give Jackie jacket, but she looking for a jacket and she can't find one to fit. Bharat, you can't find anything that you can say, well, okay, I'm gonna give them some credit here. Everything is just topsy-turvy, and the people who are suffering are the ordinary masses, the 90-something% of the people. Those are the ones that are suffering. And the only thing that we can that we can do, Coretta, is programs like these, where we can give those folks the information and try to convince them that this here is not in their best interest, how this government is operating, and they really don't care about them. They care about their friends and family, that 1%. And hopefully we can get through to as small as it might be, get through to some people, and so that those people who could make the difference, to hold them accountable come voting time. That's all. We can't give up. We've got to keep the fight and try to turn some minds over to what is correct for the country.
So, Dr. Adams, let me thank you for being here with us. It's always a pleasure to have you. And we're going to do many more of these. We've got to let people understand that 2025 will be a different year. They will come around to your communities and bring monies to bribe you and bring red t-shirts for you to put on. I feel very sorry and pity. I feel very sorry for the 10 days workers, because they pressure them all the time. If they got an activity at Babu John, you got to put on a red t-shirt and go, or you'll no longer have a job. But let me tell you, a change is coming, and it's coming soon. But what you have to do is to ensure that you get registered. You get your ID cards. Make sure that your names are on the list so that you can go out there and vote the PPP out, because they're no good for Guyana. The
And
Bacchuses.
don't forget to check that list for that name, that Interpol guy.
Yes, we have to do that. The Bacchuses will remember you for cutting down that young man in the prime of his life. The Owen Boston's family will remember you. The Henrys from Region 5 will remember you. The Headley boy, Peter Headley, will remember you. The family of this sergeant that was killed will remember you, folks. The police officer that you shot at 88 bullets, they will remember you. And all the Guyanese across this country, including the Shaka Blair and the Courtney Crummy Wings, they will remember you people. And we will vote you out. And like I always say, for Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. They are corrupt. They are vindictive. They are selfish and very deceptive. And we don't want those people in our country. They're no good for this country. So, folks, thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week for more on advancing the cause. You know, there's so much that we wanted to share tonight, but time would not allow us. But remember, the mafia boss, the picture with the first lady and his wife. Remember that. I want to see you put that up there and remind them of how corrupt they are. And more so, the advisor on national security, he must be made to answer. He must tell us who that young man is and why he had him at his place. But be good Guyanese citizens. We love you. Take care. And we've got to make that change to allow Guyana to grow and to have inclusivity so that we can continue to say one people, one nation, one destiny. Do have a good night.